Hey guys, this is Alec from the Bentral podcast. If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. For starters, it's free. Who doesn't like free stuff? I know I do. No need to invest into $1,000 soundboards or hundreds of dollars into microphone equipment. Anchor provides you with creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Additionally, Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership using ads like this one. It's simple and easy to use and everything you'll need to make a podcast all in one place. Download the free Anchor app or go to Anchor FM to get started today. Welcome into the Debate Bentral podcast. I am finally back. I've missed the last one, but it is. I'm joined by Evan, Charlie, and Swift, per usual. Today we're going to talk a little bit about just dynasty sleepers, fantasy draft values, some trades that some of us made, really just me, and then my favorite player going into fantasy this year, both in redraft and dynasty. But I'll just get it started by talking about the trade that I made in our dynasty league. For a little bit of context, it's a 20-man dynasty league, so it's fairly big. And I had traded Julian Edelman and Leonard Fournette for Amari Cooper and Ronald Jones. So do you guys have any thoughts on that?
Amari Cooper to me, like I know he's a good player and like we talk about it, but I just think meh when I think of Amari Cooper. I mean he's kind of a tough situation. A lot of seems like always he's one of those guys that you just either in on or out on. He's kind of a polarizing player in that sense. He's good and I think ultimately I think I would take your side of the trade. Like I think you won that trade. But Amari Cooper, I usually kind of stay away from him personally. I do like the value of Ronald Jones, and I know you really like him as well. And I see, yeah, of
I
course,
love me some Ronald
I see
Jones.
Fournette kind of as a depreciating asset, and obviously Edelman as well. So I like that for you, definitely long term.
Yeah, I agree with.
I feel like,
Yeah,
go ahead,
I was
Charlie.
just gonna say I agree with Swift that it's even though your team is like in a win now mode and both Edelman and Fournette would have kind of helped out with that. It's not like Amari Cooper and Ronald Jones aren't going to score fantasy points this season, and also kind of helped you for the future. And Fournette and Julian Edelman are both kind of. I agree with Swift, kind of going downhill a bit. So we haven't seen Edelman without Brady.
I feel like Amari Cooper is that player that hurt people in fantasy. Like, he's that guy that you drafted him super highly, like one year, whether it be, 2017, 2018, and he just screwed your team. And so going forward, people just try to stay away from him if they owned him then. But I think the talent that he has is, borderline elite. He's one of the best route runners of the game. He's fast. He's got good hands. He's in a good offense. He's 26 years old. So for Dynasty, it's a good move, especially going from Edelman, who is in a huge question mark of a situation, and he's 34 years old, and now he has Jarrett Stidham throwing him the ball.
What I don't get about Amari Cooper is that one game he's in and he's doing great, and he'll have a couple stretch of games where he's just amazing, just eating. And then he'll have a couple games like Mike Evans, you'll see that too, where it's just like nothing. And I don't know how you can be so talented where you can flash that and be such a highly rated prospect, obviously coming out and everything, and then just disappear, just vanish, for one game to the next. It just kind of depends. You don't really know what you're getting half the time, I feel like, which can make it be kind of scary to rely on. But I definitely think that he's a better player than Leonard Fournette is long term. But I mean, that's one of the things I don't really like about Amari Cooper.
Right. I'm looking at his 2019 numbers, and it's like you look at week 4, or I'll start at week 3. He had 26, then he goes down to 9, then 39, then 1, then 15, 18, 31, 6 and 0, and then he's back up to 16 and 20. So he's kind of what you were saying. He's very inconsistent. He's very boomer bust, but I think the good thing about that is I have DeAndre Hopkins, and Tyreek Hill as well, and Darius Slayton, if you want to include him, to hopefully. I love Slayton. I thought that was a good acquisition for me, but hopefully they can bring a little bit more of consistency, so that way when Amari Cooper does boom, my team does amazing. But when he busts, I have, a consistent score at the rest of my wide receiver positions, because we do a 3 wide receiver and then a flex format. So hopefully that works out. Plus, the way I saw this trade was, like you said, Fournette's depreciating. Edelman, there's a good chance he retires after this year, and who knows if he even catches 75 balls this year. But I felt like if I was going to get rid of Edelman, I had to package him with someone of somewhat value, and this was the best thing I was going to get in return. And I haven't even talked about Ronald Jones.
Your boy.
I like your
that is my boy
construction with Amari Cooper though. That's pretty steady, it seems like,
And Hopkins and Tyreek on your team.
Yeah. But so just a little context on Ronald Jones. I know you guys like Keyshawn Vaughn and
Dario.
You see him as
I like the prospect of Keyshawn Vaughn, yeah.
Sure. However, here's some interesting stuff about Ronald Jones. Okay. He's going into his 3rd year. So he's got the experience. He's 22. He's actually younger than Keyshawn Vaughn. Here it says he was listed at 208, but from what I'm reading, he's up to 225 pounds now.
Oh,
so he's significantly bigger.
Hopefully that's good. Hopefully that's good weight.
Hopefully, from what video-wise, what I've seen, he looks like he's in shape.
Okay, that's
good. He's been working like diligently on his pass catching, which he'll need to do with Brady there.
I mean, supposedly Sony Michel was working on that last year too.
Right. But what's interesting is when you look at the amount of balls that Ronald Jones caught last year, he was in like the same areas like Joe Mixon and Melvin Gordon.
I know he had those kinds of guys in one game though, didn't he?
So he might have. Let me look right now. He had 8 in one, which that was against Arizona. But the crazy thing is you look at his snap counts in these, and there's games where he'll have 16% snap percentage, and the highest he ever got was, let's see, 53%. He should be around that every single week. I think that I don't even think Dare Ngumbuale or whatever his name is, I don't think he should even see the field.
Whoa!
I think it should be Jones and Keyshawn. But I don't know. What are your guys' thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I like Ronald Jones. I don't have anything against him. I think, when you start putting like actual value, like where he would go into your rankings, I disagreed a little bit, and I thought he should go a little bit lower than what you maybe had him at. I like his value. Like, I think he'll outperform where he's being drafted. I definitely think that there's a lot of rookie fever surrounding Keyshawn Vaughn, and I really think that lead that backfield to start off the season, at least, for sure. And I probably see it kind of going into like a 50-50 split type of situation where I might not even want either of them. So I mean, I think that he could be valuable, though. I think he probably will be more valuable than where he's being drafted, especially with the uptick that he seems like he'll get in his snap percentage and whatnot.
So do you guys prefer, if you had to choose, like you had to take Ronald Jones, do you prefer him in dynasty formats or in redraft?
I'm
Um,
gonna check my rankings.
I
I'm gonna see where I have him in each.
I would just say just off the top of my head, I would just say redraft just because if Keyshawn Vaughn ends up breaking out after like a split backfield and then he's just like toast for the Bucks, then I'm not really sure. But I guess it's probably about even in my mind, like because I think he's kind of in a short term situation whether or not he stays in the Bucks or kind of like what happens with this little backfield battle.
That
I do think.
yeah, I just
Sorry,
happen
what?
to lean with Charlie too. I think I would probably say redraft off the top of my head, just for what he said.
Yeah. I've seen in redrafts based on ADP, Jones being taken in like the 9th or 10th round, and Keyshawn Vaughn going anywhere from like the 6th or 7th.
Mhm.
And I would way rather have Jones at the 9th or 10th than Keyshawn Vaughn at like 6 or
I
7.
can agree with that probably.
And part of it too is I think for Ronald Jones, this is his job to lose. It's almost like it's not the same because of the draft capital put into this, but it's like Andy Reid saying Damian Williams is going to be the starter week 1 in Kansas City when we all know that Clyde Edwards-Helaire was drafted to be the starting running back.
Right.
But come week 1, Damian Williams will be the first running back out in the field.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the difference is Clyde was taken with their first pick in the first round.
And at the request
And-
of Mahomes. Or what wasn't that the story?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, he fell in love with him, and and Andy Reid sees him as like a Brian Westbrook type running back, and thinks he can emulate that. But the thing is Jones was taken as a 2nd round pick. Keyshawn is a 3rd round pick. I think they're going to give Jones every opportunity, at least early on, to prove that he can be the starter. And if he can solidify that spot, I don't think he loses it, at least this year.
I don't think that there'll be a workhorse back in that backfield. Like I think a lot of people saw that as like a prime landing spot for a rookie, and coming into the draft and whatnot. And I would actually agree with that. I thought that if one of the top guys would have landed there, they would be like a workhorse, and obviously they'd rule that backfield over Ronald Jones. I thought that. But since Keyshawn Vaughn obviously was kind of a later pick, that definitely makes Ronald Jones a little bit more attractive in that sense. Yeah.
And Ronald Jones is younger.
Sure.
But it also makes it interesting for both of those backs just because Brady's there now. And they go through a slew of running backs in New England. And I'm sure they're going to try to emulate some of that. So there's definitely going to be split time between probably Jones, Vaughn, and Dare.
Yeah, Dare.
Is that how you pronounce it?
I think so.
So there's going to be split time between all of them. I'm just hoping Jones can consistently get 40 to 50% of the snap percentage week to week. And I think that's all he needs.
Yeah.
That'd be beautiful.
I know Sony Michel
It would be.
for the Patriots. I remember he was in for like half the snaps, but I think the other stat was that like 90% of the snaps that he was in on, they gave him the ball in like a run play or something ridiculous like that. So like when he was in, they used him.
It's also why Sony Michel probably averaged like 2 yards a carry because defenses knew that he was just going to run up the middle.
Yeah, exactly.
Some last couple stats about Ronald Jones this last year, and then we can move on to whoever your guys' sleepers are. He only had 172 carries. He finished with 724 rushing yards, so that equates to about 4.2 yards a carry, which is pretty solid. And then he had 6 rushing touchdowns. And then as far as receiving, he had 40 targets and 31 receptions for 309 yards. So total yards, he went over 1,000 and then had 6 touchdowns. And, that's with a pretty low snap percentage for most of the year. So hopefully you just see a little bit of an uptick on him playing more. I think he could be very, very viable for fantasy owners.
Definitely. Yeah, I like the take.
All right, should we go into other sleepers from, I guess, the rest of us?
Yeah, for sure. Charlie, you have anybody on your mind?
I was just looking at quarterbacks right now. I guess I can kind of go rapid fire down the positions as we go along. But for sleeper quarterbacks, I don't really. I guess after the big top 6 of Lamar, Mahomes, Dak, Russ, Deshaun Watson, and Kyler, it's kind of a drop off after that because those guys, are for sure going to be producing, and then the rest of them, there's like Josh Allen, Matt Ryan's, and older quarterbacks like Rodgers and Breeze. But if you go down the list, I like Daniel Jones, even just partially, even though he's like a turnover machine, because I had him on my dynasty team last year when Mahomes was hurt, and he actually put up pretty good numbers, and he's just kind of a little bit reckless with the ball, but that also allows for some big plays, so I don't mind that. And then I also don't mind Teddy Bridgewater because he has a lot of weapons in Carolina, and it's kind of set up for him to succeed with, because he doesn't really throw the ball that far. Doesn't have a cannon of an arm, so he's got McCaffrey he can just dump it off to. He's got DJ Moore, who's a young star wide receiver. He has like Curtis Samuel, who is another like yards after catch guy, and then he's got a deep threat in Robbie Anderson. So I kind of like what his setup is. It's a perfect offense kind of built for him. I don't know. What do you guys think?
Going to the Daniel Jones thing, that kind of seems a little bit like Jameis Winston,
where he's going to finish top 10, but his team's going to be like last in real life.
Yeah, he might throw for like 4,000 yards and like close to 30 touchdowns or something, but then have 24 picks and something like that. But he just puts up a lot of points and he does well for you in fantasy.
Yeah, it's kind of like Blake Bortles a couple years ago when he was like garbage time. Blake Bortles was just absolutely elite, and he would just like put up huge numbers at the end of games to get to like 28 fantasy points. And it's like,
it's one of those where you just at the end of the day, and you'll like that. Just ugly. But yeah, I like Daniel Jones a lot. I actually tried to trade for him recently with you, Charlie, in that dynasty.
Yeah.
You guys, I was looking for him. I mean, I don't really need him, but like I might as well. Kind of like I have Carlins in the league, and I actually really like his potential for this upcoming season. Just because he threw for 4,000 yards and he didn't really have a wide receiver. Like he was throwing to his two in like Miles Sanders, and then I can't even remember what the player's name was. Greg Ward, I think, was his number one for like most of the season.
Yeah, that sounds familiar.
Gross. So they added weapon. I could see him going off.
Yeah. Also, like his backup, Jalen Hurts. I'm a noted Jalen Hurts fan because I think whenever his opportunity comes, no matter what team it's on, I think he's going to be able to produce. Even though Alec thinks he's not the best prospect, I know that he'll be able to put up fantasy points because he can run the ball.
Jalen Hurts is like Mitch Trubisky.
Okay. Well, I wasn't breaking him down from a fantasy standpoint.
Well,
he is like Mitch Trubisky. That was my comp.
He's like a worse version of Dak Prescott.
Oh, you're selling
Dak
top
Dak 5
short.
Dak is really good, but he wasn't this good. Like he wasn't elite NFL quarterback when he started off.
Okay, I got a question for you guys. So back to the Daniel Jones thing real quick. Would you rather have Daniel Jones in fantasy or Drew Lock?
I think Daniel Jones.
I feel like Lock has.
Yeah.
Really? I kind of lean Lock.
Just because of all his weapons?
Lock played solid near the end of the year last year, and that Denver team was not that good. But when you think about Jerry Jeudy, Cortland Sutton's in his third year. Noah Fant. They have all sorts of running backs at his
KJ
disposal.
Hamler.
I think there's no KJ Hamler. Like, there's no excuse for him. So if he's bad, he's just a bad quarterback then. But he has
And
all
I'm
the
gonna
weapons you
bet
could
on
want.
what you just said right there, that I think he's just a bad quarterback. I don't see him that great of a quarterback, to be honest. I see them as a run first team.
That's fair.
I mean, I know they kind of drafted wide receivers and are wanting to make their offenses because they're in that same division there. But their defense is fantastic, I think, and I think that Vic Fangio is gonna run the.
So in this ADP, it does have Drew Lock going about 8 picks before Daniel Jones. So I would definitely take Daniel Jones in that situation. But if there was like a 2-round difference, I would roll the dice on Drew Lock.
Yeah.
Yeah, it depends on what else you could get, I guess. So you know what you're losing out on if you were to take
but
Daniel.
the quarterbacks in, like, at least in a snake draft, they're going to be going kind of slow towards the end, or I guess in the middle. So it's just kind of pick and choose your spots depending on the value.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Swifty, you got any? Yeah.
So Swift.
My sleeper.
Yeah, go ahead.
It's kind of a deeper one, but it's Miles Boykin. I think he'll be the number 2 wide receiver in the Ravens offense. And you look at his spark scores coming out of, college and the combine. He's 89th percentile in his 40-yard dash. So he's running like a 4.42. He's 98th percentile in his speed score, 99th percentile in his burst score, 90th in his agility score, 99th in his catch radius. So he's like 90 plus in like everything pretty much. He's 6'4", 220, and he's 83rd percentile in his hand size. He's still really young, entering his second season. And I could see him developing as a great player on the outside for the Ravens. I know they lost. I don't even know the guys. Seth Roberts, I believe, is who it was they lost. And I mean, he wasn't that big of a person in that team or whatever, but he was still higher in the depth chart last year. So Boykin wasn't getting as many snaps. But I think that Boykin could break out because they drafted him in the 3rd round last year. And I just like his measurables. If you look at somebody who kind of compares to, I would, like, based specifically on combine and whatever, I kind of look at DK Metcalf because, like, DK Metcalf is like 99th in his 40-yard, 99th speed score, 97th burst score, and then DK Metcalf's obviously his agility score is a lot lower. He's actually a 4th percentile agility score, and then he's 91st in catch radius, and like DK is like an inch shorter and like basically the same weight and the exact same hand size. And just looking at them, I just see like the same exact player. I'm not sure if you guys would agree with that, or if you even think that there could be another weapon that could be productive in that Ravens offense, just with how much they run the ball. But I really like that potential there.
So personally, I like Boykin in dynasty formats. I don't like him in redraft, which I think you were saying for dynasty purposes. But I do like Duvernay a little bit more long term. I think he's more versatile, and I think they need versatility in that offense because they're not going to throw the ball like a traditional team. So Duvernay can kind of play that Deebo Samuel role where he is, thrown into motion and lining up in the backfield, can line up on the outside or the inside. He's physical. So I like Duvernay more long-term, but I do still like Boykin a lot in Dynasty. But as far as redraft goes, I'm not touching anyone on the Ravens that's a receiver unless it's Mark Andrews or Marquise Brown.
And I don't even know if in redraft I'm touching Marquise Brown either, just because I've owned him as a Dynasty player, and he's like lovely guy for his speed and his playmaking ability, but he's also super injury prone, and I don't know. I just don't know if I trust to put that in my lineup week to week for now.
Yeah,
he's still young.
What I'd say about Devin Duvernay is the dude's like 5'11" and 200 pounds, like completely different type of receiver compared to Miles Boykin. And I know, like, in training camp last year, they were talking about Hollywood Brown versus Boykin, and Boykin was actually outperforming Brown in training camp, like throughout the preseason and whatnot. So I actually like Boykin a lot better than Duvernay, just because different type of receiver, and he's already been in camp for a year, and especially this year, where they're not going to have it open, and it's going to be kind of weird with coronavirus. I don't think Duvernay is going to get as many reps in there. And I think he's kind of just repetitive. He's 5'11", 200 pounds, kind of just a smaller guy, just kind of like Marquise Brown. And I think that the Ravens need that outside, big receiver to go up and grab some balls in the end zone and be that red zone target, kind of like Mark Andrews a little bit, but just be in the wide receiver for him.
So what I kind of see is, I would, if we were deciding in like a redraft setting, I'm taking Boykin over Duvernay this year. But Duvernay to me, like when I picture him, I don't think Debo's quite the comp because I don't think he's the same athlete as Debo. But when I think of him, I think of like a young Golden Tate who's just kind of a brick and can run routes, catches the ball, just does, like, he's not going to be super flashy, but he's just going to do everything right. And like I said, I already said this, but just long term, I'm more of a Duvernay guy, but I totally see where you're coming from with Boykin, because they kind of, not even kind of, they lack that big outside possession receiver outside of Mark Andrews, who I want to include in that because he's a tight end. But yeah, Boykin is a physical freak, and that's definitely intriguing. So I like the pick.
Alec, do you have any, or should we toss over to Evan? He hasn't even talked. I can talk about this rookie receiver.
I think Evan is he's just hanging out. He's just listening.
It's a live listen. Enjoying live. That's all it is.
He's like the producer,
like nephew Kyle,
who just he's exactly like Kyle, or like who's the guy in the fantasy footballers that does like the production for them?
What you're talking about Judge Giamatti? Is that what they call him?
Not Giamatti. Brooks.
Evan's like writing Brooks. Show notes right now. He's like texting us like, dude, why did he talk about Miles Boykin?
Yeah, you guys probably didn't see that one coming at all. But I have him in Dynasty too.
Yeah, I might just have to take some tips from you guys.
Evan's like writing notes for the fantasy draft so he doesn't spend $45 on Jordan Reed.
No, it's just like I overpay for wide receivers every year. That's usually what it is. It's like I'm dropping like $55 for like.
Except that was really.
I don't know.
That was an auto draft. Well, back in 7th grade.
That was a great pick though. So Calvin Johnson.
Yeah, it was a solid pick. That was a great pick.
Man,
Calvin Johnson. It's a long time ago now.
He's been out for a while.
Alec, I'd like to ask you a question. So in redraft,
let's hear it.
Where would you take Ronald Jones? How high is he in your rankings? You love the guy. He's got to be like what, like number 5?
No.
Oh,
No.
Kamara Ronald Jones.
No. So, see, I don't really know. I haven't gone through like rankings. I don't really rank guys. I just kind of go down the board and decide, like, based on ADP. Oh yeah, I'd take a guy here based on who's above him. But I'm trying to find.
Would you take Kareem Hunt or Ronald Jones? Matt
Kareem
Breida
Hunt.
Or Ronald Jones?
Ronald Jones.
I think I would take Breida there just because I think he's going to actually be able to produce in that offense. I know he said Jordan Howard, but it's like the same thing.
That's what I was going to ask is who would you rather have in that backfield,
Breida.
Jordan Howard or Breida?
Breida, because he's just explosive, but he gets hurt a lot. I don't know.
Do you know that, it's a crazy stat that I heard, but like the top 3, I think, leading rushers in the last like 3 years or something is like Zeke, somebody ex-player, and then it's like Jordan Howard. Like Jordan Howard's like in the top couple players in rushing and leading the league in the past like 3 years.
Well, he's probably going to be the goal line back there too, so he might finish the year with 7-8 touchdowns.
I mean, I think he's low-key a sneaky value, but I would still take Breida there.
Agreed.
Dang. I don't know what their ADP is well, it says here Jordan Howard's going in the 8th round based on Fantasy Football Calculator. And I haven't seen Breida. I think he's a little bit higher, but I would take Jordan Howard over Breida if that was, 3-round
All right,
difference.
James White or Ronald Jones?
This is the heaviest
Ooh.
Ronald Jones podcast in the history of podcasts.
Dude, Ronald Jones.
I have a question after Alec finishes this one about Ron.
I will die on the Ronald Jones hill. This is going to be one of those things where, like, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong, and I'm just going to be like, you know what? I overanalyzed it.
I hope this just becomes like a
But if I'm
podcast
right-
inside joke where we just bring up Ronald Jones like 40
Like every
episodes in.
time.
We're like,
So Ronald Jones.
If I'm right about Ronald Jones, though, you
You'll
guys
be
will never hear
smashing
the
that.
end
Well,
of it.
we think
Drop
we
button.
agree that he's not good. That we agree that he's good, but we're not like obsessed with him like you are.
Well, you guys
you'll be
are
smashing
bigger
that.
fans of Darius Nice.
Yeah, I am because he's
I am.
a way better prospect profile than Ronald Jones, and they're both in similar situations. And I'd rather just have the elite talent back.
No, but here's the thing: is
The guy's flash.
He's a beast.
he's flashed, but at some point, it's like the Derrick Rose stuff. At some point, he's just not going to be the same player.
Well, if he gets injured again, I'll believe
he
it
might-
completely.
Yeah, I don't think that point's come yet. So, but you heard it here first. Alex smashing that draft button in 7th round on his RB4.
Oh, I don't know. I don't know about 7th round. I would have to. I'm going to do a mock
8th
draft
round.
soon, and I'll figure it out. But I'll target him and see where I get him
Okay.
at.
So I have a question for you guys. We're just going to keep this podcast fun, and we're going to talk about the New York Jets. Okay.
Oh gosh.
Okay,
Adam Gase.
so for redraft, would you rather have Denzel Mims or Jamison Crowder?
Jamison Crowder.
Agreed.
Crowder.
But obviously, we'd rather have Mims on Dynasty. But
Dynasty.
and I do like the
agree.
prospect of Denzel Mims being one of the best rookie receivers off the get because Sam Darnold's just going to chuck it up to him.
Yeah, I think he's going to be super hit or miss. He could be that, like, the Michael Thomas of this draft. Like, I think that's like something that could totally happen where everyone got super high on all these receivers and he falls late into the 2nd round and ends up being, the 2nd or 3rd best receiver in this entire draft. It's kind of bleak right now, given that he's on the Jets, but if he can build up a rapport with Sam Darnold,
I think
I don't think that's
the
totally out of the
volume
question.
is the key for him because he's got the athleticism. If he just gets that volume and that, because there's like no other receivers besides Crowder, who I think will be a PPR machine.
Does anybody remember Devontae Parker? Because that's basically Denzel Mims right now.
See, I think that's an interesting comp because I was thinking for my comp would be DJ Chark. Not because they're the same player, but Chark didn't do anything his rookie year and then blew up his 2nd year, and he plays for a terrible team. I could see something like that happening.
I just say Devontae Parker because the guy was like a 6th year breakout, 5th year breakout, and I think that's pretty much due to Adam Gase. So Adam Gase, once he goes, I think I'm more on the Denzel Mims hype train. Like, you look at the players that Adam Gase just ruined: Kenyon Drake, Ryan Tannehill, Devontae Parker. Like, everybody became good once they got out of that. So
That's
I
just
didn't
a
even think
super
about
tough
that.
scene for Adam.
And look at
that's why.
and
like
his
AJ
eyes,
Brown.
dude.
Yeah, he looks like he's on coke.
Like AJ Brown, Ryan Tannehill.
There's the one meme
Yeah,
of him.
Disgusting.
Okay, this might be a consensus pick, but who would you guys rather have? Darren Waller or Rob Gronkowski
For this year,
for this year redraft?
I'll go Waller.
Yeah, I think I'll go Waller because Gronk has just burned me in the past with injuries.
Honestly, I could see Gronk getting injured and OJ Howard absolutely just tearing it up.
I'm
That's-
hoping
I
Gronk
can
does
see
well
that.
because
Like,
I
Gronk
picked him
always
up on
is
waivers
injured.
before he got signed with the Bucks on both my teams. But
I'm so mad about that.
well, snooze you lose.
Yeah, Charlie got on that.
I have Percy Harvin on both too. I'm waiting on my man to get signed.
Oh God.
Not gonna pick up Colin Kaepernick.
Yeah, maybe. I have a lot of quarterbacks though, so
He's like the quarterback
Hey,
hoarder.
you heard it here first. You heard it here first. Colin Kaepernick to the Chargers.
to
It's
the
going to
Vikings.
happen.
It's just the perfect scenario.
yeah.
I disagree.
Sean Mannion or Colin Kaepernick?
Everything about LA.
Yeah,
Oh, that's
I don't
the
know.
easiest. See, that's the thing. Is like, how is Sean Mannion? How does he have a backup job in the NFL? Like, it's not like Kaepernick wants to come in and be a starter. Like, obviously that's the goal, but he just wants to be on a roster.
Yeah.
Well, who was the Vikings backup quarterback that we had in the preseason that we cut?
Kyle Slaughter, the Slaughter man.
Oh man, he is gonna next time. He's
Yeah.
so good.
Okay.
But yeah, I
think
totally agree.
It would be a
Colin Kaepernick
perfect
deserves
fit
a
for
job.
Kaepernick. Okay, should we wrap up the show with a little bit of rapid fire? Who would you rather have?
Yeah, let's do it.
Go ahead.
Okay. Joe Burrow or Jared Goff?
Joe Burrow.
Burrow.
Let's say this is for redraft too.
Still Burrow.
Burrow.
Burrow?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm probably going to go Burrow as well.
I agree.
Yeah, Evan.
There you
Ooh,
go.
good here.
As I proceed to have a voice crack too.
Nice. You're just not warmed up yet.
Okay. Would you rather have Preston Williams?
That's exactly right.
Would you rather have
Yes,
Preston Williams
Preston
or
Williams.
Jalen Rager?
Yep.
Jalen Rager.
2020? Are we talking 2020?
Yeah, this
Preston
year,
Williams.
redraft.
Preston Williams.
I'll go Jalen
Wow.
Rager.
Okay,
because
I
of
think
the
this is
volume.
going to be incredibly biased, but would you rather have Justin Jefferson or Michael Pittman?
Justin Jefferson, baby.
Justin Jefferson.
He's going to step into an insane amount of volume in that offense.
He's Stephon Diggs.
On
Okay.
my
That
team.
is what he will become.
Jefferson
Okay,
is the beast.
Jefferson or Ruggs?
Jefferson.
Jefferson.
Easy. Ruggs
Jefferson.
is, we don't know what his fantasy outlook's going to be like.
Ruggs is one of those guys that's more productive for an NFL team than a fantasy team. He just stretches
Agreed.
the field.
Agreed.
Mm.
Except
Like
he
a
could be a
Mecole
Tyreek
Hardman.
Hill, but I'm not going to bet on that yet. Except
Yeah.
I think Mecole Hardman actually has potential to be pretty valuable.
Okay,
But
this one.
This is supposed to be rapid fire, so.
Okay, this one. Imagine it's redraft just this year. Would you rather have Jerry Jeudy or Emmanuel Sanders? Sanders was New Orleans, by the way. If you don't remember.
Yeah, that's tough. I'll take
think-
Manny. I'll take Manny.
Yeah, Emmanuel Sanders as well. Alec, you there?
Charlie, I'm telling you, I just hear a laggy. It was-
Well, I don't know because I just said Emmanuel Sanders too, but I guess there might be some disconnection issues. Who knows?
Yeah, I
Okay,
said
couple
Manny
more.
Sanders as well.
Michael Gallup or Brandon Cooks?
Oh,
Brandon Cooks.
Brandon Cooks.
Charlie, we're so
I think I
insane.
might go
Jeez.
Brandon Cooks
Yeah.
as well. Dang,
I
that
like-
feels
Brandon Cooks
so
is
gross to
underrated.
say.
How
I think he's a
about this
sleeper.
one? How about this one? T.J. Hawkinson or Noah Fant?
Hawk.
Hawk. I agree.
Hawkinson, yeah.
Yeah, I like Hawkinson. I'm a huge Fant guy too.
Fant is a lot
Okay,
of weapons.
try not
but
to
I
be-
just don't no.
Stephon Diggs or Cortland Sutton?
Diggs. Except, ooh, I don't know.
I'm gonna say
actually.
Sutton. I got Sutton.
I actually lean Diggs.
I don't know because Diggs has a bad quarterback, but so does Sutton. But Sutton has a lot of weapons around him, and they didn't spend a lot of money to go get him this offseason.
Okay. Calvin Ridley or Juju Smith-Schuster?
Juju.
Juju.
All day, baby.
I'm going Juju as well.
Yeah.
All right, last but not Dalvin Cook or Alvin Kamara?
Kamara.
The contract situation.
Wow.
That's what I'm worried about.
Well, Kamara could still hold out, I think, but
I'd still take
Yeah,
Kamara probably.
Kamara.
I'd still take Kamara as well.
What about? Okay, I got a quarterback.
dude.
one
You just have
here.
PTSD
I'm
from
bringing
fantasy,
one
but
in.
like
I have PTSD from fantasy with
Apparently, so do I. But apparently, he was played hurt last year, which just hurts my feelings.
yeah,
How about-
like
Traded him.
every year for me, I pick a running back. Like it was David Johnson,
Sam gets
Last
it right
year it
every
was-
year.
Kamara.
I get it
It's-
right every year.
Like this year,
Every
I'll
I
end
get
up
it
with the
right.
number one pick at Christian McCaffrey, and he's going to somehow suck.
I
So
literally get it right every year. I
Sam
got
had
Todd Gurley in
Hopkins
his
on the
best
right year, Mike Evans on the right year, David Johnson on the right year.
Le'Veon in the right year, Gurley in the
who
right
else?
year,
A
DJ,
bunch of guys. He always hits on those.
Cook. I had Cook on the right year this last
all right,
year.
boys,
I had Cup.
I think that'll do it for tonight.
I had Melvin Gordon.
Sounds great.
Thanks for listening. Y'all take care.
It's been
Be
good.
safe out there.
Yeah, join us again
This
next
was
week, all you listeners.
You might have got
Nope.
disconnected.
I am still talking.
Sam's talking.
Yep.
Oh,
Oh, I
Wait,
can't even hear.
Are you guys? Are you guys just hearing white or blank sound? Because I'm hearing both of you guys talking over each other at the same time.
Oh, yikes!
I'm not hearing Swift.
Yeah, I don't hear Swift either.
Well, that's bloody
Okay.
awkward.
Well, it'll be on the pod, and people will know.
Check
that
it out.
We're just going through some learning curves,
Yeah.
with this free technology that we get
For sure.
Anchor.
From the beautiful sponsors,
Yes.
Anchor.
Our beautiful sponsor, Anchor. So far, we've made 96 cents, baby.
Hey, let's go. Did
Yeah.
the mic sound okay today?
I think so.
Okay,
It's wonderful.
well, that's good to hear.
Crispy.
All right, should we end this session and then record a Swift Takes?
I
Might
mean,
as
I don't
well.
care. I would like to get home. So how
Fair.
long are we talking?
15 minutes. 10.
10 minutes? Sure. Does he have a top?
Are we going to do the Netflix shows?
Netflix shows.
Oh, is that what we're doing?
Yep.
I think so.
Okay.
All right. So I don't know how you
All
need
right.
to do this, Charlie.
I'll end it and then I'll send a new one.
Okay.
It's been real.
It's been a
Hey,
good
everybody.
one.